We talked about defensive tackles a little bit earlier. Let's take a look at some of the edge rushers. This is the same NFL free agency list. 50 available, top 50 available players as of now that are projected to be available. This is an intriguing one. Marcus Davenport, defensive end, the Saints, will be 27, has a little bit of injury history. Low sack total, but does get pressures. You see his size. As I describe this kind of sounds like a little bit of the knock that you heard from Jadeveon Clowney. Kind of impacts pressures but doesn't get the sack. So 24th on this list is Zach Allen, edge rusher from the Cardinals. A little bit younger, and again, a guy that's ascending, 6'4", 280 pounds. 32nd on this list is Yannick Ngakoue from the Colts, a guy that the Browns were interested in before he signed with the Colts. Again, 28, so kind of in that age range, has the top-end traits that you look for. Another interesting one in 39th on this list is Brandon Graham from the Eagles. So he's never played for anybody other than the Eagles, was a first-round pick. Career high 11 sacks, 13th NFL season. So again, that might be a guy that you get for a year or two on a deal because he is up there in age. And the last guy on this list that we'll take a look at, Arden Key, edge rusher from Jacksonville. Again, upside as a situational pass rusher. When you say situational, that means he's not going to cost you as much. He does have, the age that you would look at 27. You look at those guys again. Who of those edge guys who kind of grabs your attention there?
Well, I do think they have to address that in a big way. Clowney obviously didn't work out, but there's much more defensive tackles available than there are defensive ends, so that factors in. A couple years ago, I really wanted him to get Trey Hendrickson from the Saints. He was, he ended up with 20 sacks that year, and the Bengals signed him right out of the get-go. Browns went and got Clowney. I could see them doing 2 one-year deals, as opposed, to a Clowney. I wrote that in the story. Last year they spent $10 million on Clowney, got 2 sacks out of him in 11 games. A guy like Jerry Hughes, he was 35 years old. He went to Houston on a 1 year, signed for, I think, $6 million, and he had 9 sacks. And Melvin Ingram went to the Dolphins on a 1 year for like $5 million or $4 million, and he had 6 sacks. So you got 15 sacks for the same $10, $11 million. And if you're going to, beef yourself up, I'd rather have 2 guys on 1 year deals than one big price guy. If you can get a free agent, on the list I looked earlier, PFF, I know the Browns like PFF. They had Clowney as the second best available edge rusher, with Davenport just ahead of him. So that tells me, there's not a lot of bigger names. So I can see him going after Yannick, a guy they've interested in before, Arden Key. Another guy to keep an eye out, I don't even know how to say it, Obo Okonorakwa. I know Okoro plays for the Cavs. It's kind of like that OKOR. He's with the Texans, and he was an undrafted guy. He's only 27, but he had like 5 or 6 sacks last year. And I can see a couple of those type guys that aren't well known, maybe a little under the radar, a little more salary cap friendly. You have to realize they're dealing a little bit with the restrictions because of the money they spent on Watson. They can restructure several contracts to get him money, but I don't see him just taking the top guy off every position, because you got other teams bidding for him too. And so I see him maybe making a splash with one player like they did with John Johnson that year, and they did with Jack Conklin the first year. But I see him maybe, going, with maybe a couple guys, maybe under the radar type guys.